Anybody? Can you hear?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start our meeting. Just to make everyone aware, the meeting is being recorded and we do have to have it on the... Yeah, thank you. Notice of meeting. Public notice of the meeting is given in accordance with Schedule 12, paragraph 10, little 2 of the Local Government Act 1972. We move on to agenda item number 1, apologies for absence. To receive the apologies for absence, please.
We have apologies from Councillors Hull, Wilde, Lehman and Coughlin.
Thank you. Can we have someone move that we accept those apologies? Councillor McLaren, a second. Councillor Mulheron. Sorry, Councillor Blackwood. I did a brain fog there. All in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. Agenda item number 2, declaration of interest and request for dispensation. To receive declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interests and other interests from members in relation to any item on the agenda, and to consider any requests for dispensations. Do we have any such declarations, members? No, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 3, to receive reports from North Yorkshire councillors. Members, if you'd like to come up to the table and thank you, Councillor Swanwick.
Yeah, that's right. I've got a stage of having it away.
Well, exactly. The microphone is set.
It's just that you got it first, sir.
Snooze and lose. Okay, thank you very much, Chair. It seems like only yesterday since I was standing here giving a report before, it was only 2 weeks ago. So that fits well with the new time arrangements that I'm asked to only speak for 5 minutes, and so I will do my best to abide by that. So I'll try and cram a few things in very quickly. The first one is just to pick up on your minutes, because I don't want anybody to make any mistakes about what I said in the last meeting, and it's in relation to Christmas trees. And it said, Councillor Swanwick also confirmed that a Christmas tree will be provided in Whitby for 2026. What I did is I read from the Equalities report, which said that there must be a Christmas tree in Whitby in 2026. But I wouldn't want anybody to assume therefore that North Yorkshire Council was providing one, because that is not the case. So that's the first point. The second is just to refer briefly to a few events recently, and I'll try and keep an eye on the time. If you could do the same, I'd be grateful, Madam Mayor. Several, I would imagine, around this table, and about 120 Whitby inhabitants turned up for the North Yorkshire Council Area Committee meeting on Monday in the pavilion. And the main concern I think people had turned up for was the previous intention to close the cliff lift. I won't rehearse all those arguments all over again, because I think people have heard them, and generally the view in Whitby seems to be that we want to retain it, and that was the message that I think we got as councillors. And we passed a motion to go back to the executive to say that we wanted a survey done to discover the best way to make the lift workable again, with costings and a business plan to deal with revenue costs. The second major item was the harbour report, the harbour strategy, and I believe that's on your agenda later on, so I won't touch on that. Councillors had an opportunity to have their say on that. And the third item was dealing with camper vans. Camper vans in particular that have been affected by the extraordinary traffic regulation order, which affects in our area really only Sandsend Road in Sandsend, but there's a significant area within Scarborough that it affects. And the arguments to and fro about whether we should allow camper vans and how we should allow camper vans. There was a very significant number of objections, in which an overwhelming majority were in favour of allowing camper vans. I think you can make your own conclusions as to who sent those in. We have looked at all of them, and obviously you have to take into account the fact that I think it's probably true that all those people have some sort of interest in keeping camping vans in the present arrangement, or rather the previous arrangement. But I think the concerns were expressed from residents and the councillors at the meeting that there were great disbenefits also from allowing camper vans to park without any restriction. So that has now also gone back to the executive. I also attended recently the Town Investment Plan Steering Group, which was held at the Green Lane Centre. There were representatives from Whitby Town Council at that, I believe, as there were other organisations in the town. I'm pleased to say that the MAPS meetings have been reinstated after a rather difficult campaign, a number of letters, and the result is that they have now been reinstated. The MAPS is, for those that don't know what the initials stand for, it's multi-agency problem solving. It's a meeting with the police and all the other agencies to look at difficult problems within the town, in particular in relation to policing. And the difficulty was getting any of the police to attend. But I'm pleased to say that the inspector attended this time, as did one of his police constables, and he made a commitment that there would be a police presence at future meetings at sergeant or inspector level, which I think is a big step forward, because if you remember, we used to get police contributions at this council, and very often they would just send the PCSO with a script, and it's really good enough because you can't actually raise any questions or get proper answers. However, relevant PCSOs did. One other final point, and then I'll wrap up, Madam Mayor, so you don't be any difficulty shutting me up. And that is to say that obviously a lot of concern has been expressed about the gas drilling operation that is proposed in Burniston on the outskirts of Scarborough near us. It is a controversial process, and the MP and several others recommended to the Minister that it should be called in and dealt with by the government. I can't give you any comment on the benefits or otherwise of what is being proposed, because I will be sitting on the Strategic Planning Committee making that decision. But obviously I can talk about the process. The process now is that the government has thrown it back to North Yorkshire Council to deal with. So we will have to sit as the North Yorkshire Council Strategic Planning Committee and deal with the recommendation, which at the current moment by officers is to approve the drilling operation. I'll stop there, Madam Mayor.
And thanks very well, Councillor Swanwick, and it is appreciated. I must say your report was very, very thorough. We do appreciate it. This is just a bit of meeting management because we do have a lot on the agenda. That is all this is about. But it is appreciated.
I don't know whether questions are included within that.
Well, I was just going to say to members, do you have any questions, members? Yes. Councillor Peter. I'm trying. Look, I will control it one day.
Councillor Swanwick, Peter, just to ask, when do you think the Strategic Planning Committee will consider the application?
No, we don't have a date as that at the moment. I assume it's a matter of a point at which the officers can arrange for all the representations that are necessary to be present on the day when it's decided and find a convenient date for the location and so on.
Yeah.
But I would imagine it's going to happen in the not too distant future.
Councillor Dalrymple.
Thank you. Just in relation to camper vans, but slightly off the point, has any discussions taken place about the increasing use of the promenade at Whitby for unauthorised camper vans coming down in the summer, and the fact that they're staying there for a number of days and emptying their waste over the sea, into the sea and everything? I know it's never an official zone, but nothing seems yet to have been resolved on it.
that question was asked, and it was asked by my colleague and fellow councillor, Councillor Trumpet, so I think it would probably be appropriate for him to share with you the answer that he got to his question.
Thank you, Councillor Swanwick. Councillor Riddles. It just sounds like it's on.
Just a couple of questions. One, you said about the number of complaints from the about camper vans. I presume that the vast majority of those were wanted camper vans were actually camper van owners. And not residents.
Probably true to the city.
The second thing was about the cliff lift, which I found quite intriguing, was that when Scarborough Council originally got a quote for repairing the cliff lift, I wasn't aware that actually what the quote was for was to actually seal the shaft of water, which actually £5 million is probably quite a reasonable amount, but since all my life, whenever I've used that, water has always come out down the cliff. I don't think that that is a problem to the running of the cliff lift, so that £5 million can be wiped off completely, and we can go back to more general things, which was, I believe the figures were 500,000 for filling it in and 650,000 for repairing it. Now, that sounds very good value for money as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
I think I would agree with you on that, Councillor Riddle. I thought what was quite interesting was the comment by the officer that the quote that came up with the original, I think it was 3 million, and then what's happened is we've added on inflation ever since that quote was arrived at. The 3 million was actually a very cheap and cheerful assessment, which was based on worst case scenario, and this was the word he used in his report, that it was a worst case scenario quote. So clearly the information that we're very grateful to Anglo-American for in terms of their assessment in the summer and then again in the winter, that the ingress of water into the shaft itself is not a major issue, is something that we would want to check against other professionals and take a judgment and not, in my view, accept the original proposal. But that now hopefully will be taken on board by the executive as the motion went off, I think, at 5 o'clock today to the executive from the chair of the area committee asking for a proper assessment, costing and business plan.
Thank you, Councillor Swanwick.
Thank you.
Councillor Trumpet, if you would like to give your report.
Thank you, members. I'll just tip it from it, so thank you. I'll actually read out the recommendation from the area committee for the cliff lift. Just so everybody wasn't there knows what it is. I think there's quite a lot of people who were there, so most of you in the crowd. So we recommend for one that the council commissioned an up-to-date survey of the cliff lift together with a full costings to bring it back into use. 2, there is a business case developed to open the cliff lift to include an annual maintenance plan, the ongoing cost of operating the cliff lift as a growing concern, use for the benefit of residents and visitors, especially those who are disabled, have limited impairments or restricted mobility. So that was the recommendation, and as Neil pointed out, that went off to the executive this evening. So the meeting of the executive is on the 17th of March. That'll be at Rydale House in Monton. I will be there. Again, putting in a cost or argument that it should be saved, should be repaired. Again, I'll just point out as well the petition got over, well, it's up to 6,000 signatures, which is basically half the population of the town, which is made, this is just how important it is to the residents of the town. I think also at the beginning yesterday we did discuss camper vans and experimental TROs. The main one is called Sandon Road in Whitby. I did point out that there was supposed to be a TRO going on the seawall at the same time in November 2024. That was pulled because of some objections from residents. So they decided they couldn't go ahead with that TRO. I did ask what's happening with that. He basically said it's not designated as a highway, so he sent it back to property to basically look at it again. But I will be pressing again for that TRO to be put on place on the seawall because it has what we found the displacement issues. So there's been quite a bit of displacement from Sands Road into Whitby. So the seawall, I've been getting quite a lot of correspondence regarding the seawall again, but also in other areas, Cayman Avenue, Woodgrave Road, and even Kirkwood Road, where people have found that there's been camper vans using that area because there's no longer use the Sands Road. So that's been an issue. And that was also pointed out by Scarborough. They have a major issue in Scarborough, but we still had similar issues in Whitby. I had a meeting yesterday afternoon with the head of the Sea Cadets Association, Sea Cadet Corps, who basically would like to set up a unit in Whitby. So that is something that I'm really supportive of. I was there with the guy, the Deputy Lieutenant for North Yorkshire, Stephen Upright. So we're hoping to have a meeting after April to see what interest there is from potential instructors and adult staff, and also from children who want to join the Sea Cadets. But he's really, really enthusiastic about bringing a unit back into Whitby. There hasn't been a unit in Whitby now probably for about 20 years. I was in the Sea Cadets when I was in fact I bought a scrapbook, like that Scarborough unit, got all our artefacts, and so he brought a scrapbook over, and I was actually in the scrapbook. So that's what we're trying to do, is bring the Sea Cadets back to Whitby. So it'd be great if the town council could support us on that. So I think it would be such a positive for the town. We do need a Sea Cadet unit in Whitby. That's as brief as I'm going to keep it. So if there's any more questions, I'll answer those questions.
Any questions, members? Councillor Perrin.
Reference to the promenade, the sea wall, and in view of what happens at Langdale, you get, in the morning you get barbecue trays and they're still warm and you've got dog walkers there. Could you make sure that North Yorkshire is aware and puts that in as a priority as to why that area should be enclosed, particularly if we're going down the route of a cliff lift and not the bus, and then we don't leave it open?
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue that I brought up on a regular basis with beach management. There's quite a few issues down there. And I was talking to a lady actually at the meeting yesterday who runs a business down there, and she's had quite a few issues. But yeah, it's something that I bring up with beach management all the time. And it's something that does need sorting out because it is affecting residents of the use of that area. I mean, I've been down there with the dog, I thought the dog was going to get run over one day because the car was flying down. But, it's quite difficult because of it not being a designated highway. It's quite difficult for highways and to put a TRO on it, but when they did want to put a TRO in, and residents basically objected, I think mainly because of they were concerned about the use of getting down to the facilities if you're disabled because the cliff lift's not working. Repair the cliff lift and it might resolve quite a few of the issues that we have down there.
Okay, thank you. Something fresh, Councillor Mulherron, because I'm conscious of the time strutting on now.
Yeah, is it possible to extend restrictions on parking in Mulgrave Road, etc., Claymont Avenue, and that would get rid of camper vans in the area if you could have the 3-hour limit?
So when we're looking at the discussion yesterday, they are looking at parking in the town, around the town. So that's something again that will be discussed. So there's going to be a new parking strategy for Whitby and Scarborough. So that will be brought. They are completely aware of this situation. So that will be brought up in that discussion about the improvements that can be made in those areas to prevent that happening. So it's already on the work plan.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Moving on to receive a report from Anglo-American. If you would like to join us at the table now.
Thinking in a box to stand. Right, good evening everyone. So first up, I sent an email to the clerk last week and asked for that to be distributed to members, providing an update about the project. So did people receive that? Great. So I'm going to be really brief. So the email included some positive news about the project. So the first is confirmation of funding from Anglo-American to enable us to continue with our current construction activities. So there was the prospect of us to potentially slow down further. So we don't have to do that. We can carry on doing what we're currently doing, which is sinking the service shaft and tunnelling. The production shaft will remain paused, and also continuing and actually expanding some of our market development work that's proving really successful. So that means we can maintain the current level of employment on the project. So that's been pretty stable over the last year or so since the slowdown was implemented. So there's 1,000 people working on the project, and it's likely to stay at least at that level for over the next couple of years. The second piece of good news was an investment agreement with Mitsubishi. So that's an initial investment agreement with a relatively small equity stake in the project, and that's to work together primarily around our market development, and we can really benefit from their extensive global food and agricultural networks. It's an endorsement of the project and of the products and of us. And there's the exciting thing is that there's the potential for Mitsubishi to acquire a really significant minority stake in the project, about 25%. They're a long-standing partner of Anglo-American, so they hold a 40% stake in Anglo-American's copper mine in Peru. So overall, things are moving in the right direction, especially when you think about where we were 18 months ago. We're making good progress, and we're really focused on being able to re-accelerate from 2028, subject to board approval. And finally, I know that you're particularly interested in the benefits and the economic benefits of the project in the local area. So we are going to be publishing our social impact report, so we do that annually in the next month or so. So I'll make sure again to the clerk that you receive a digital copy of that, and also I'll make hard copies available as well.
That's brilliant, Matt. Thank you for providing the report. It's always good news, and what's particularly good is that the employment levels are staying at the same. That's really good news. So I'm going to open very quickly to members. Councillor Riddles.
Just one thing, dark skies now and into the future, because you get quite a little dome of light above your sky.
Yes, okay. So, yes. So we work with the National Park, so every month they will come and do a lighting audit on the site, and every time they'll pick up, one or two things, but largely they're satisfied with how we're managing the light on site. So we only have the lights on when necessary. They're orientated in a certain direction, but certainly acknowledged there is a dome of light. But that's one of the reasons that we pay such a significant amount of funding through our Section 106 agreement to the park. It's because of those impacts such as lighting that we can't entirely mitigate.
I've said it before, Matt, and I don't mind restating it, that they've done a fabulous job with that site to blend it in and do everything they can to mitigate any impact on the community. So, members, No further comments? Thank you very much, Marty. It's nice to see you as always. Moving on to agenda item 4, public participation. Members of the public will be invited to speak on items related to this agenda or to raise matters for future consideration. In accordance with standing orders, the public participation period shall not exceed 15 minutes in total, with a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Public participation, yeah, well, we've got that in my direction. So, are any members of the public wishing to speak? Ian, would you like to? Yep. If you could say your name, Ian, for everyone's.
Yeah, I think you all know me by now. I'm notorious in with the Ian Dixon. Just a few updates, please. Tenant situation for the Maritime Hub. I did ask last month about it. Rumours going around town that Harbour office is going in there. I don't know about Park Hall. So is there any updates on that? Because obviously it's a huge empty building and I believe it's about ready to be commissioned open next month, if that's right. Toilet finances. Are we in here with that result? You know, the losses on the toilets? Because leading on to that, obviously last week I think it was announced 8.4% increase in the precepts. So that's a disappointment. Couple of another thing to bring up. There's this rumour going around town. This last month I mentioned about e-scooters in the town, mate. Now the latest one that's going around is.
Ian, you really should know better than to.
I know, but I've got to ask these questions because people speak to me in the town. Hunts on Baxtergate to mitigate the retail situation. So I'm in shops, small shop units on Baxtergate. Is there any legs to that story? And I'll tell you what just crossed my mind. You might know Peter Cooper. Peter Cooper put some photos on about the town the other week about things that's damaged in the town. Do you ever think about, as a council, doing an assessment of what is wrong with the town? You know, things that need repairing, and there's an awful lot of things that do need repairing. And that's a thought that the council, that the town council, does some kind of audit assessment of what needs doing in the town structurally, like the harbour. We know about the harbour, but there's other parts of the town which.
Just on that point, I will answer you on that point, Ian. Everything comes under North Yorkshire Council virtually, so although we are aware of issues and we do raise issues as and when they come to our attention, either by our own observations or the members of the public, but this does come under North Yorkshire Council.
It does.
And we're not just passing the buck, but
no,
at the end of the day, it is their remit.
It does, but then with the town people,
I totally agree with you where we need to
find. What is the first part of call that you know you can look at things and then pass that on to.
Absolutely, so, anything that you've got that you want to raise with us, we really appreciate you coming in and raising issues.
Just that thing's right. I can remember as a kid in the 70s going to Germany, Holland and Belgium on holiday, and I was expecting to see like Whitby still had bomb sites, right? And everything had been replaced. You go around town now, you go down bottom of Brunswick Street, the railings are still off there 80 years later. They're still not replaced. Same as the town hall. You know, the town hall's getting fixed, but it isn't getting fully fixed to what it was pre-war. You know, there's an awful lot of town is still in a dilapidated state, even 80 years on. It's worth thinking over, let's say, an assessment of what the town is at. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ian.
Cheers.
Do we have any other members of the public wishing to speak? John, would you like to come to the mic and could you as well state your name, please, for everyone's benefit?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Following my questions put to county councillors a month ago, I shall be grateful for your indulgence while I pester you again. Councillor Swanwick did not attend that meeting. He said it was only a budget setting meeting, but that meeting, outside the election of the mayor, is the most important meeting in the civic calendar. He told me he had no knowledge of what the questions were, but I told him twice that Councillor Trumper, to whom he has referred to as a colleague, would advise him, and that also you had a copy of the questions. Unfortunately, he's elected to be difficult about the questions. One question was about weeds and grass growing in the gutters around town. I have received a reply from Councillor Trumper saying that North Yorkshire Council are dealing with it. I would ask both our county councillors to keep on about it to officers at Northallerton. I, when a town councillor, along with other members at the time, have been complaining about this for a few years. Another question concerned the rotten down pipes at the Fish Quay. Some of the drains beneath them have become blocked and rainwater has been flowing over the footpath. Lastly, the floodlights around the whalebones and Captain Cook's statue have not been working for a couple of years. These latter points have been raised with both of them on more than one occasion, with no outcome. All that said, Madam Mayor, my principal question, my principal moan, if you like, last month, was the appalling excavation done at the entry point to the 7th tee on the golf course from the public footpath. Hearing nothing from our county councillors, I contacted people I know at Northallerton. As a result, contractors were engaged by North Yorkshire Council and they put right the disgusting mess last Thursday. Members may like to know that the initial vandalism was done by the golf club without formal permission from their landlord, North Yorkshire Council. Planning permission per se was not required, but permission was. The contractors properly landscaped the area so as to maintain the integrity of the profile of the cliff slope. And while it's still obvious that work has been done, it looks a lot more presentable than it was. I now understand from those members of the golf club who are still speaking to me that they intend to hire a couple of buggies to carry, quote, about half a dozen people, close quote, between the two halves of the golf club. That will provide a very interesting interface between golfers and pedestrians in the months ahead on the mostly very narrow footpath. And I think Councillor Mulheron's husband will agree with me that would be a difficulty. Nevertheless, Madam Mayor, I feel now that I've got the bragging rights. If you want something done, ask somebody who knows who to talk to and how to talk to them. Unpaid, I might add. Also significant is that I have been asked by North Yorkshire Council to contact them if further issues arise in this area. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I trust you've now got a note to those questions and I look forward to your email reply. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, members.
Well done, John.
Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak? I thought you were going to raise your hand.
Well, yeah, I would like to reply to that, actually.
Well, I think you can reply. You've heard all the comments. I don't want to turn this into a... right, we're going to move on. Agenda item number 5, the minutes. To resolve that the minutes of the meeting of the Full Council held on Tuesday the 17th of February 2026 be signed as a correct record. Could I ask any members who are your proposal, Councillor Smith? Do I have a second to Councillor McLaren? All in favour?
Got your email. 20 miles an hour. Yeah. Policy for the Labour Group. Thank you.
Agenda item number 6. Moving on to agenda item number 6, the reports. To receive a report from myself on civic engagements undertaken. Since our last meeting, the only engagement I've actually been to was the North Yorkshire Council Civic Service over in Helmsley, which was a really nice service actually. maybe sort of get to thinking that perhaps Whitby Town Council should be doing something like that. So it's a talking point for the future. And although I was invited to pop in last night, I did go, not as the mayor and the mayoral chains, but I did pop into the youth club that's held in Flowergate Hall last night. They have quite a decent turnout, and it's a little bit hidden away, so unfortunately it's not as accessible as it maybe could be for the youth of the town, but at least we do have a youth club, and it's moving on, the numbers are increasing. So anything any of us can do to help promote that, I think it will be very well received. And that completes my engagement since we last met. So we move on to agenda item number 6B, and that's to receive a report from the town clerk. Everybody should have had, and it's in your papers, but I'll hand over to the clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have nothing further to add in addition to the report, but happy to take any questions.
Members have any questions? No? Can I have somebody move that we receive the report? Councillor Bolton proposing, seconded Councillor Mulherron, all in favour? Thank you. Now again, agenda item number 7, the Whalebone Arch. And this is to consider a report from Mr John Woodhead from North Yorkshire Council on options for the replacement of the Whalebone Arch. And again, you've all had this report in your papers, and there are 7 options on the table. I will open the meeting for any comments from members. Any comments, members? Councillor
Thanks, Simon. I think that whatever we do needs to be done well, and you know, I appreciate we can't go on the original, you know, another set of workers, so let's do the very best. For we live in a very Instagram, you know, social media society. People come to us and take photos, so I would say quality, lasting, something that's going to be impressive. So yeah, that's just basically what I want to say.
Thank you. Councillor Marston.
Yes, I think I've expressed my opinion before that if we can't replace the whalebones with actual whalebones, and I would be slightly not in favour of that anyway, due to having to actually find a dead whale to get it from, and go through the various permissions to do that. My preferred option has always been for something based on timber, like in one of the options on here. That is an organic material. It will weather very similarly to whalebones. It will blend into the environment. I certainly would not want something that's plastic, and I feel that something that's metal would be out of character for the area, however well it's constructed. So my personal opinion would be something well crafted out of timber, and the advantage of it being timber as well is that it can be constructed to actually match the geography of where it's placed. Getting natural whalebones means you get whatever you happen to have, and they may not actually fit into the landscape properly. A very well constructed timber replica would be, it would be able to be carved to match the surroundings that it fits in. It will be organic, it will fit in the surroundings, it will weather with the surroundings. And the report said that well-crafted timber would last us a century or so. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, members? Councillor Stevenson.
Yes, thank you. Is that on? No.
Yeah. I think it's just making sure it's close enough.
Thank you. I take the view that my preference would be for option 6 to go for something that's a little bit more modern and the bronze replicas. And I'm quite prepared to propose that we go for option 6.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McLaren. You second that proposal. Just Councillor Smith, you want to come in there?
Yes, two things.
Can you use the mic?
Never reach that.
Don't underestimate
I appreciate what we're saying about the timber arch and the timber whalebones, but we do actually have a timber whalebones already in the park, so there may be some clash there, and for that reason I would quite like to see the brass replica as well. The second point I would like to make is that at the moment we don't have a lot to say in this, and I would suggest that if we pick the most expensive option, we're probably not going to be listened to. So my suggestion would be that maybe we look at these options, and if we at all possible, we offer to help out with the costings of it in order that we can have some more.
Can I just stop you there, Councillor Amanda Smith? They are all in budget. North Yorkshire Council have put options before us that they're quite happy to take our feedback. They were very, very positive when the clerk and myself met with Chris Vaughan and Carl Battersby. So this is within budget. They want to work with us, and I'm going to say I really appreciated it. They were very, very positive. And looking at the report, I'm presuming members of the public have seen the 7 options. Would you like us to read them out just before we go to the vote, or have you read that report? Yeah. Okay, for me, I've got to take on board as well what Mr Woodhead did say, that the bronze ones will give us longevity, and eventually, if we can't have the real thing, we've got to have something that's going to last and be there on our West Cliff for many, many years to come. I have had it proposed and seconded, but I'm conscious that I've got 2 members who wanted to speak, so I'm going to go to Councillor Dalrymple, then Councillor Moorhead.
Thank you very much. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Captain Cook made of bronze? So I was just thinking that if we went for a bronze whalebone, I would like to see tying whether or not we could do a Captain Cook clean at the same time, so effectively they will both weather together.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Moorhead.
That's actually what I was going to say as well. So
Right.
he's got in before me.
Councillor Adler, did I see you indicating to speak?
Yes, Chair. The thing is, we've had offers of sponsorship as well. Will they be included in this, or are we just throwing them out and say thank you very much?
Well, we're not throwing anything out, but North Yorkshire Council have said it's within budget, so if it's within budget for their purse, then there's no need to go out and delay anything. Because one of the things that is crucial that we do get moving with this, because the current whalebones are not in the best of conditions, which is obviously why we're having this discussion. And I'm going to follow on with that. We have been asked about the whalebones themselves. So I'm going to go to the vote first so we can decide on the proposal that's on the table, but then we will just come back to this on the current whalebones. So we've had it proposed and seconded that we go with option 6, which is the bronze replica. All in favour? Any against?
I prefer the timber replicas. That's what I would do.
Democracy rules, I'm afraid, Councillor Hanston. So, just going back now to the original whalebones that we do have there, we've been asked what we would like to do with them, and I do think York University is interested in them, but we've also got quite a lot of feedback that it would be nice to keep them in the town. So, I don't know if you want to speak to this, Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, the North Yorkshire Council officers have indicated that I think it's their preference that York University will have the whalebones to do research on. The Mayor and I did raise the early indication that there might be other local views within the town, and I think it went on social media recently, and there seemed to be overwhelming consensus on social media at least that perhaps they should be here, kept in the town, probably in this very building somewhere. I have informally broached that subject with the manager of the museum. I haven't had a response yet. I think it was if we have space for such things, then that would be nice. So I think she was going to go away and speak to others within the museum and find out if there was a view. But I think if there is a view from the council, then we could certainly take that back to North Yorkshire Council and to the museum more formally about whether or not you would be happy for them to go off to York University or for them to be retained in the town somewhere.
Councillor Blackwell and then Councillor Reynolds.
I think it would be really nice to put by the plaque, if people see you go and view the bronze whaleboats, and then you have a plaque, you can see the original ones in Whitby Museum and drive people to the museum.
Councillor Reynolds.
Just that I don't know whether it's feasible to have the whole whaleboats in the museum, but they do need to be somewhere inside because they're falling to bits very, very quickly. So whether the compromise, I think, which was mentioned, was that some of it, we keep some of the whaleboat in the museum and the rest go to your university. It seems sensible.
That's our husband.
That's just what I was thinking, give one to York and keep one here. And then on
Doesn't seem right to put it Councillor Dalrymple.
My concern is when they are dismantled, they will fall apart. I think my view would be we should take a view when they're taken down and just see. The other thing is going to be, if they come here, someone is going to have to pay for them to be preserved. Because Councillor Riddle said, if they're left as they are even indoors, they're going to deteriorate. And then we could be in the situation of people saying, well, the original whalebones are in the museum, but they're not being looked after. So, but I would think, my view would be a mixture of both, yes. We keep some of the bones here, maybe the top bit of the arch, if that was possible, and then the other bits could be given to York Museum, university.
I think it is food for thought, members, and as Ryder said, if we look and see what feedback comes back, I mean, we are relying on what the museums say as well, so we'll bring that back to council, I think. But we've got the decision to send on to North Yorkshire Council on the preference. So, thank you, members. Moving on to agenda item number 8, membership of the National Allotment Society. Consider and approve the ongoing annual subscription for membership of the National Allotment Society, currently £70 per annum, and there's plus a one-off £1 joining fee. And this is obviously subject to budget provision. Any comments, members? Councillor Riddles.
As chairman of the allotment, I think it would be a good idea to join.
Councillor Dalrymple.
I would second that.
So were you moving, Councillor Riddles, seconded by Councillor Dalrymple, that we do subscribe to this? All in favour? Thank you, members. Agenda item number 9, the 2026 Annual Town Assembly, to consider and approve the date, time, venue and arrangements for the Annual Town Assembly. You've got the dates there, instead of me finding through this. I know it's this month, isn't it? Is it next week? Yeah. Do you want to do it,
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. This is one of those slightly strange ones in that it isn't a town council meeting. It was called by the mayor or electors. However, the town council would typically fund the arrangements, so the route hire, promotion, publicity, and indeed refreshments. I'm not sure if this has historically come to council for consideration or if it's just sort of happened. In previous councils, have always brought it through as a decision, and that's why you have the report here before you. My thanks to the Deputy Mayor for his records of previous annual town assemblies and the dates. I've tried to gauge the pattern of dates, and I appreciate there was a resolution previously that it would take place between 2 and 6 meetings, before the annual council meeting. And in discussion with the Coliseum, that's thrown up those 2 dates, 15th of April or 22nd of April. So it's a question of date, whether you're happy with the Coliseum and the start time of 6:30, which I understand is your usual start time, and if you'd like any refreshments. I'll leave it there, members.
Can I ask a question? What is the legal position? Are we required to have a town assembly because we are a particular kind of parish council? Or what?
It is a legal or statutory requirement within the Local Government Act. It is not statutory required that council organises it. It's usually the mayor who would call it, or electors. Effectively, if you don't, nothing happens. The police don't come and knock on the door, so it is considered best practice, and most town and parish councils do follow them.
Thank you, Ryan. Councillor Riddles.
Can I suggest that we have it on the 22nd at the Coliseum, starting at 6:30, and we provide everyone with good tea?
So we've got a proposer and a seconder that we go for the 22nd of April and we provide a cup of tea, please, for everyone, at the Coliseum at 6:30. All in favour? Yeah, we have.
Who's paying for the tea? That's what I wanted to know. Is it going to be costed £1.50 as per the...
It would be, they're putting on that, aren't they? Yeah.
That's what council proposed.
Councillor Riddles has proposed that we move for the 22nd at the Coliseum 6:30 the weekday for the tea. It was seconded by Councillor Blackwell. All in favour? Any against? Thank you. So the town assembly will be held on the 22nd of April. In fact, I was going to suggest 15, but just overlook that. Just ruined all our plans, Councillor. Moving on to agenda item number 10, review of financial management software provision. And this is to consider the arrangements for the Council's financial management software, including the proposed termination of the existing provider contract and transition to the Scribe accounts. Now again, members have had the report out on this, and I think everyone needs to be mindful as we're moving forward and trying to bring the Council basically up to date and in a more manageable and understandable way, that this is why this proposal is on the table here. It seems to me a very, very sound way to go forward. Any comments, members? Councillor Amanda Smith.
Can I just ask, is there any financial advantage to actually cancelling the contract? It seems to me that they're asking the same amount of money for us to cancel it to move forward for the year.
I will hand over to Ryan as he's reviewing this.
Yes, it's effectively yes, it's the same amount of money for year 5 of the contract to cancel it now. That would be a decision for them to take as to whether it's worth cancelling, as you say, or just letting it run on.
That was my second part of the question, was there an advantage to just letting it run on so that we could take our time about and pulling them all together?
The renewal is in September, so my intention would be, if you agree to transition to Scribe, that all the data will be extracted from Edge well before September. So by September it would be redundant. Whether at that point it would be worth us holding on to it for a further 12 months, I think that could be left to be an operational decision if members agree that effectively we are moving away from Edge to Scribe, but there's no financial benefit, you're correct, Councillor, to cancelling it earlier. It's just really the practical decision of moving, transitioning. Whether we still need it beyond September, I would hope not. You can download things, essentially, and keep it, and once it's all migrated over, you've got records.
Thank you, Ryan. Councillor Riddles.
The only thing that concerns me is the cost item. I mean, 1,500 quid is 1,500 quid. I have looked at Edge and they seem to actually be claiming the same for their package as Scribe is.
I think the point there, Councillor Riddles, and I'm going to interject on this one, if you look at the example that you get from Scribe, it is so understandable. Everything is so clear. And I'm going to say, having sat in this chair, and tried to justify the questions and really criticisms of the way our accounts have been presented, that's because of the way they come out of Edge. If we move over to Scribe, it is so simple, you can see it. Anyone can look at those accounts, they are so easy to understand. So I think it's a clear-cut case, quite frankly, that if we need to move forward as a clear, open, transparent, accountable council, we need the equipment to do that. And I've got to say, Ryan's done a tremendous amount of work, and we're bringing this council into the really modernising it, and it's essential. Councillor Blackwell.
I'd just like to say that it may be 1,500 quid, but the time savings, so that Ryan can focus on something else, might be worth more than that. So I think if you've done you've looked into it, you think it's going to save you a good amount of time, and that is time is money, then yeah.
Yeah, if you'd like to come back on.
Just on those last couple of points, I did actually use Scribe at my last council. I transitioned that council from a third provider called Realtas over to Scribe, and the time saving is considerable. And I had it in mind when I joined this council. I'm conscious I'm being recorded, so I won't say too many bad things about Edge, because they are a commercial entity that have many customers. But saw how terrible Edge is, frankly. I had it in mind that when it expired, I would suggest that council moves over, so in September 2027. The last 6-7 weeks in post have shown me that actually there are significant benefits to making that move now. I wouldn't advocate double paying effectively unless I was suggesting to you as your RFO that there are very, very good reasons for doing so. I've heard from some of you in the meetings I've had that the presentation of the reporting is complicated, it's difficult. The cost centres are not grouped together. The toilets, for example, I can present it to you with income and expenditure in one cost centre. Everything will be much, much clearer. There's functionality that unfortunately doesn't exist within the Edge system. It's also touted as cloud, but it's actually cloud via a desktop, which is a bit strange. So I can't access it. It's not that I necessarily want to, but there are times when I need to access it from home on my iPad, which I can with Scribe. I can get something up now and give you an answer. And as an RFO, I don't ever want to be in a position, as I have been already with this council, where I've been asked, well, what's our reserves position? I don't know. I can't tell you off the top of my head because Edge doesn't present things in that way. Scribe does. It will give me much greater clarity over the entire finances of the council, and therefore will give you much greater clarity. You will also get a constant stream of financial reports at every meeting, and it will help. Also, in light of the interim audits that the council's had, we just concluded day 2, of which I will tell you a bit more another time. It will be very beneficial if you agree to Scribe for me to redo this entire financial year's worth of accounts. I want to start from the beginning and re-enter everything for this financial year from scratch, so that when I sit here at the AGAR time, I can be absolutely confident what I'm presenting to you, what I'm signing off as RFO, is accurate, realistic and dependable. I don't have that confidence at the moment with Edge. I know for a fact that I would with Scribe. And they call Scribe the financial system for non-financial people. As councillors and officers, it's not just me that would use it, it's other officers as well. And it's much simpler. It's very, very difficult to make mistakes with Scribe, I should say, whereas with other packages, where you do have to keep doing these contra payments and journaling, it's a very different kettle of fish. I'm not on commission, might I add, with Scribe. I just think the particular challenges this council's faced with a number now of different RFOs and clerks who have experienced the same problems with the financial transparency. I would not be doing my duty if I didn't propose this as a better option for you. I think it is going to be at least half the battle in getting the finances of this council in order and improving that transparency and monitoring. Sorry, I've still
No, I've got Councillor Bolton and and then Councillor Amanda Smith.
I would like to formally propose that we would work the prescribed system for reasons given by you, Madam Mayor, and by the Town Clerk.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Councillor Bolton's proposed it. I'll just bring in Councillor Amanda Smith.
I was going to propose exactly the same thing. Can I add on to that that we leave it up to the party's discretion when we terminate the edge stock package?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Councillor McLaren, did you want to comment?
No, I second it.
Right, so you've seconded that, Councillor Amanda Smith. All in favour? Thank you, members. That's a good job done. Agenda item number 11, objections to the 24-25 annual governance and accountability return. To note that objections have been received from directors in relation to the Council's 24-25 annual governance and accountability return, and that the external auditor has undertaken steps 1 and 2 of the statutory process. So this is just to note, members, do you need to speak to this?
Briefly, Madam Mayor, yes, members, you will be familiar with AGAR objections. This is not a new process for you or this council. This is before you now. I understand that when these objections were first made last summer, it was around the time of the former town clerk leaving the council. I don't believe these have been brought, therefore, through to full council as is required, which I'm sure will probably be picked up in next year's AGAR, another objection, but quite rightly so. So they are here in front of you now. You have all the correspondence between the council and the external auditor, and in the confidential papers you have all of the detail as written by the objectors. It is only a noting item at the moment. We have been asked to provide a council response, detailed response by the 8th of April. I've started looking at the objections. There is some more research I need to do on some of them, and I need to pull together documents and information from various sources. I'm aiming to get that done in time for the 8th of April. It may be possible, it may not. I'm not entirely sure at the moment, but I will bring that through council, obviously, as necessary at the time. But again, I'm happy to take questions. It is a noting item.
So bearing that in mind, members, do we have any questions?
I was going to ask them to receive a call.
You were going to receive it.
Oh, yeah.
So Councillor Steve Smith has said, seconded by Councillor Abbott. All in favour to receive that, members? Thank you. That's good. Agenda item number 12. Statutory electrical testing for public toilets. To consider quotations received for undertaking a statutory electrical installation condition report at council public toilet sites, and to appoint a contractor to carry out the required testing. And again, you've had all this in your pack, members. Any comments? Councillor Amanda Smith.
I've been asked by
Can I
Councillor.
ask you to? Thank you.
I've been asked by Councillor Lehman to make the following inquiries. I'm going to read them because it's not my area of expertise. She's asked for clarification that all of the quotes are for the electrical installation condition report. She feels that there's only one of the quotes that actually states that quite clearly. And she's also asking, and she says this is very important, are the fixed appliances to be tested? Because the hand dryers and the wash stations are metal, and so the internal electrical connections, so the internal electrical connections and the wiring need to be checked, especially the earthing. And if that's not included in the quotes, then she's asking the quotes be revised to include it.
Thank you, Councillor Amanda Smith. Those points have been heard, but obviously the member isn't present, so we're just going to take on that you've put those across. Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Harston and then Councillor Mulhern.
Yes, Chair.
being a trained and certified electrician myself, I can tell you that an electrical inspection condition report does include the condition of potential bonding to extraneous metal parts, such as sinks and pipes, etc.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. Councillor O'Hara, you wish to speak?
Thank you. I was concerned about the dates on these. So one quote is from June 2025, one is from August 2025, and only one is from this year. Do we need to get updated quotes because they may reflect the pricing?
Those quotes were on my desk when I took up post. The first thing I said was, are these quotes still valid? They are, and can I get third quotation? You have it there. You will note there is an outlier in the quotations. Without steering you too much, members, I would suggest you look at the most recent quotation and then the one that's most similar, and note that two are probably more realistic.
Councillor Abbott, you wish to speak?
Okay. The electrical was put on the table some months ago when the last clerk was here, and it was discussed that we'd try and go for a local contractor, and the local contractor was this particular one was Mike Clarkson.
You can't mention names, Councillor, please.
And the thing is, the quote came in and it was accepted by the council. So since then I've been said that there wasn't clarification on this, whether it was accepted. You check it out. No, but
we're required to get 3 quotations, Councillor. That's what's happened. There's a minute that reference the council's wish. 2 quotations were brought to council, and it's minuted that a third was required. So that's what it's come back for. That was the will of council. And we are required under financial regulations to see 3 estimates in any event.
So anyway, the quotation came in, and it was because we went for a local electrician that saved the costing from travelling from Scarborough and travelling from obviously elsewhere, Teesside. And the quote from that local electrician was, as you can see on this,
please.
No, I'm not saying that you can see.
The point is, before we have 3 quotes, we need to decide who we're going with this evening. So, Councillor Steve Smith, are you proposing?
I'd like to propose that we go for the middle quote.
Middle quote. Is everybody clear on that? Have I got a seconder, Councillor Mulherron? Are you seconding for the middle quote? Yeah. So we've got a proposal and a seconder that we go with the middle quote. Members, can we take a vote on that? All in favour? Any against? And any abstentions? I think that got 4 against, actually. Thank you, members. That would be the middle quote that the council has selected. Moving on to agenda item number 13, this was North Yorkshire Council's draft harbour strategy consultation, and if members remember, we did delay looking at this one from the last meeting, so we're looking to consider North Yorkshire Council's draft harbour strategy and to determine whether the council wishes to submit comments or observations in response. The consultation runs until the 22nd of March 2026. And obviously you've got the link there where the details and proposals can be found. So, are there any comments that members wish to make or observation? Councillor Riddles.
This policy, I don't think it can be classed as a policy. It's very wishy-washy.
Could you speak a little bit closer?
It's very wishy-washy, and there's no actual substance in what was said in this. It doesn't really say a lot, to be honest. They don't give us dates, they don't give us money. They say we'll do this if we've got the money. There doesn't seem to be a lot of commitment to do a lot of the Whitley houses, as far as I can see.
Councillor Heron.
I actually agree with that. When you read it, it's not actually specific enough to Whitby. And things like utilising and renting out things like the dredger. The dredger should be just devoted to Whitby and Scarborough rather than renting it out to other areas when we actually desperately need it. Things like a battery parade. I don't go on with that battery parade. Again, they're not mentioned at all, but that is part of that area. So all of those areas should be looked at, but it's just not specific enough.
Councillor Amanda Smith.
Take it back with you.
Actually, yes, you keep on, Councillor Smith, you can sit down with the mic. We haven't got any more speakers.
I would absolutely agree with what's been said by the two councillors. It's my opinion that we shouldn't be looking at a strategy that involves three completely different harbours. We've already had a High Court judgment that separates off our harbour and sets up a harbour authority. Scarborough's in the process of pursuing one for their harbour. I'm assuming it will go the same way, and they will have their own harbour authority set up, which just leaves filing. So why have we got one report covering three very, very different harbours? It can't possibly do justice to all three. Now, I'm only concerned about Whitby, but we should be looking at a report here that is talking about Whitby Harbour and all the harbour grounds that surrounds it, not a report that's talking about Scarborough and Filey, who are completely different. And yeah, it isn't specific enough. It doesn't cover what we need it to cover. They may need to go back to the drawing board and start again.
Right, I'm getting the feeling that everybody feels the same way, that this isn't a specific document for our harbour or any harbour actually. So could I ask someone if you want to pull in together a comment that can be put to the table with Town Council, which is to say, I know we've had quite a broad sort of roundup of what members feel. Have you got enough there to feed it back, Ryan? Right, so if members are happy with that, I'm going to go to a vote just to ratify this, that members are happy with sending back that we don't think this is a specific enough document, and Ryan will pull together the words on that. If everyone's happy, all in favour? Thank you, members. Sorry, we needed a seconder for that. Opposed?
Madam Mayor, just before we go to the vote, could we link with that? Could we express our disappointment, as Councillor Amanda Smith has said, that North Yorkshire seem to think that one harbour strategy is adequate for three totally separate harbours, and Whitby needs, as do the other two harbours, its own specific harbour strategy, and that's what we would like to see.
I think Ryan picked that up, but I'm going to go then with proposed by Councillor Amanda Smith, seconded by Councillor Dalrymple, and it was all in favour. Yeah, okay with that, Ryan? Thank you.
Just one point. We said we were talking about, can you make sure it's specific to Whitby?
That was picked up, so it was. Agenda item number 14, the Sunken Gardens, works undertaken by North Yorkshire Council. To consider works being undertaken by North Yorkshire Council at Sunken Gardens and to determine whether the Town Council wishes to make representations to North Yorkshire Council. This has caused quite a stir in the town this week. There's all sorts of rumours going around about what is happening, but clearly some of that area is being crossed over and the rest of it will be planted out. Both Ryan and myself have been in touch with the chap who's in charge of that, as I know many councillors have spoken about it as well. So just to give you a little bit of the feedback that I did ask for a written response, and Mr Smith did offer to come to the council via Teams, but we weren't able to set that up in time, so are you alright if I read this out so members of the public can hear that as well? So the statement back was, we're incredibly excited to be redesigning the sunken gardens to breathe new life into what is such an important and well-loved space. Over time, the previous planting in the central piece of the grass simply did not thrive as we had hoped. It became tired, patchy and visually underwhelming, which meant the heart of the gardens was no longer the vibrant focal point it should be. Rather than continuing with planting that was clearly struggling, we feel this is the perfect opportunity to refresh the space and create something that looks stronger, healthier and far more inviting. So there's a couple of more paragraphs, but it's on that same term. So the council are looking to refresh the sunken gardens. We will keep an eye on it. There was talk about, it says here, the size of the bed in the grass area was yet to be determined, but they're looking to create a bold and attractive focal feature. So the grass area is being put in as we speak today, so I guess it's a case that we keep an eye on it and give our feedback to it. However, I'm going to open it up to members because we have said that if you want to make any observations, then notify North Yorkshire Council on that. Councillor Riddles and Councillor Rapper.
As from my research, it sounds like they're going to do the central one is going to be grass table and there's going to be a circular area in the middle. I would accept, I agree with that. The other two beds need actually repositioning because they're just anywhere. You know, they're not symmetrical, they don't line up with anything else.
I think the point here, Councillor Riddles, I get what you're saying, but
so
they're actually on with the work as we speak. So it's a little bit late to be saying about the layout, but we are entitled to say a comment and send that back to North Yorkshire Council. Councillor Blackwell.
So what I would like to propose that we send back to them is communication, you know, so the fact that we're all debating this, we're finding it out, people are wondering what's going on, maybe it would be much more helpful if they were going to do something like that, if they would consider bringing a proposal to the council, explaining what they're going to do, and then if we have questions from the public, we're already aware of it. I just think that it's another case of them doing something and work that's just not being kept in the loop, which isn't good enough in my opinion.
I did actually raise this at the Scarborough and Whitby Area Committee yesterday, and I did ask the members to support that anything that affects the assets and you know, anything really in general for Whitby, that they should be communicating this through Whitby Town Council first, that it was totally unacceptable that we read about it on Facebook or we hear rumours in the street. So I did say that and request the committee to do it. Whether they did is another question, but it's something that has been highlighted. Was your hand up, Councillor McCowan? Sorry, Councillor Shackleton.
I'm presuming that the council are going to actually keep this, you know, to sort of maintain it, that's the word I'm looking for, because the reason that the beds haven't thrived is because the beds haven't been planted. The beds were just planted with sort of grass, so it always used to look really, really pretty, because when they did the present gardens, they actually planted up the sunken gardens as well, but for some reason they stopped doing that. So whatever they're doing with it, whether they're doing a bit in the middle and the grass is going to be either side, we need to know that they're actually going to maintain it and they're not just going to leave it to its own devices, because as soon as it starts looking shoddy, everybody just walks over it. I watched children just running over the top of what was actually planted last summer. So nobody's going to look after it if it's not maintained by the council, North Yorkshire Council.
This was alluded to by Mr Smith, the fact that the area was run over by dogs and anybody really who just wanted to, but they are very keen to maintain it. It does come under North Yorkshire Council, so we will hold them to task that it has to be maintained, quite frankly. Councillor Amanda Smith, then Councillor Dalrymple, did you have anything? No, sorry. Councillor Amanda Smith.
First of all, do I need to declare an interest as the chair of Whitby and Bloom?
No, I think you're fine with that, Councillor.
Okay.
I totally agree with what's been said. The situation in the Sunken Gardens is a long ongoing one and quite a lot of history involving Bloom, and whereas Bloom has looked after the outside of it and the beds that we created around the outside of it, the inside bed, this central one, was initially looked after by Bloom. It was done in the time of the Diamond Jubilee, and it was in the shape of a diamond, and we looked after and cared for it. Scarborough Council, as it was, decided 1 year, without speaking to us or telling us it was going to happen, that they were taking it back. It's had 2 or 3 iterations since then. The problem is that the planting in Sunken Gardens is incredibly difficult. It faces due north, and whilst it is slightly sheltered, it's boiling hot in the summer and it's soaking wet and cold in the winter. To plant sustainable planting is incredibly difficult. It is a case of trial and error. Will this plant survive? Will this plant survive? And my observation is that I've understood that from one of the letters that I've seen, that they're talking about sustainable planting in there. And if they are going to plant out that centre bed, the size as it is currently, you can't actually garden the centre of it. You can't get into the centre of it to garden it. So I do think that that this town council really needs to know what the propositions are, what exactly is happening, because the 2 outlying beds have been made so small now that they become insignificant. They've been encroached on year after year after year. They've taken 10% and then 10%, and this time look as if they've taken even more than 10%. So they're a fraction of the size that they used to be. Yes, it does need looking at. Yes, it would be great to go back to square one and have a beautifully designed garden. Maybe we could look at take the presentation that we're doing with Crescent Gardens, where the spring planting is replaced with bulbs. They come up year after year after year, and actually they're quite hardy would be. They do come up year after year. So we could look at outlining some of it with some bulb, or North Yorkshire Council could look at doing it with some bulb planting. But I do think there needs to be a plan. And at the moment, what I'm seeing is knee-jerk reactions.
Thank you, Councillor. What I will say is that Mr Smith seems to be very keen to really work with us, and I think if we invited him to one of our meetings, it might be a good idea that he could get the feedback in person rather than us just sending something. He did apologise for not communicating with us, and that is a really big issue for us at the moment, and I think if members are minded, we could invite him to attend a meeting so that we can give feedback on that thoroughly. Would anyone like to move that rather than me? Councillor Abbott, seconded by Councillor Bolton, all in favour that we ask Mr Smith to attend. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item number 15, members' reports. To receive reports from members appointed to represent a council on outside bodies. Do we have any such reports, members? No. We move on to agenda item number 6, and this is